Good morning, everybody. It's Friday here in the Smokies. Hi, I'm Richard Haley, and you're watching Morning in the Mountains on the Mountain Fun Life channel. It's Friday, and that means this is the Sports in the Smokies edition, and we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, including a pretty cool announcement. So we'll get to that as we move through the show. We're going to do a couple of things a little bit differently today, just because it's Friday and we can, so why not? So starting off with pro sports. Interesting story going on in the sports world right now. Several different teams in different sports decided to take a night or two off from playing their games in order to show solidarity with the events that have been going on in several different locations with Black Lives Matter, with Antifa, and protesting different things that are going on. So the NBA postponed their playoffs. The Major League Baseball skipped several games. Major League Soccer skipped several games. WNBA joined them in sitting out and not playing. So in respect to them saying they don't want to distract from the developing story, I'm not going to cover them. So let's talk about NASCAR. NASCAR is racing. They are moving forward with their schedule. They did race this weekend. They had 2 races in Dover. Spectators were not allowed due to the COVID-19 epidemic. So they raced in front of an empty stadium. The drivers are getting used to this. It's still better than their video game racing that they were doing during the shutdown. So they raced at Dover at the Monster Mile. They had 2 races, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Both of them called the Dryden 311 miles each. On Saturday, Denny Hamlin won. That's his 6th win of the season, and that moved him into a tie with points leader Kevin Harvick for number of wins. Well, Kevin Harvick couldn't let that stand, so he won the Sunday race for his 7th win on the season. Martin Truex finished 2nd in both races, and these races are very important because we've only got 1 race left before the chase for the championship. The NASCAR version of playoffs begins. So our last regular season race will be this weekend in Daytona. Tickets are still available. Fans are allowed to go see that one. The Saturday race was kind of interesting. Martin Truex came out and took the lead for the final phase and held it for most of the way and seemed to be dominant as long as his car was in clean air. Unfortunately, he got held up by lapped car Eric Almirola, and that allowed Denny Hamlin to catch and pass him for the win. Truex was understandably frustrated about that a lapped car held him back and cost him a win. However, his place in the chase for the championship is secured. He is well in that race, but it does look like Kevin Harvick will finish first, and he did wrap up the championship for NASCAR this season. So we start the chase for the championship in 2 weeks, and we'll see how that goes. But before that, we've got the race in Daytona. And someone who's to watch is going to be Jimmie Johnson. Currently, he is 4 points, just 4 points below the cut in order to make the chase for the championship. He's 8 points behind the lowest driver, who happens to be his teammate. So there's going to be some drama during Daytona to see who is going to make the chase and who is going to be that first driver left on the outside looking in. So the Coke Zero Sugar 400 will be at Daytona on Sunday, weather permitting. And that's something we do want to talk about. If you listened to Captain Accurate David Aldrich this morning, we do have some weather heading into the region this weekend due to the remnants of the 2 major storms that are battering the coast and moving towards Houston and further inland today. Here in East Tennessee, we expect to start seeing some effects of those later on this evening into tomorrow. Right now, we've got a little bit of rain, and that's more or less the very far-flung results of that weather. So make sure you stay informed of what the weather's going to do and be ready for whatever happens. All right, so let's move from NASCAR to another sports. We're going to talk a little bit about the NCAA. So NCAA is still gearing up for whatever football that can be played this season, as well as the other fall sports. And again, like we told you before, Divisions 1, 2, and 3 have canceled all fall championships for 2020 and into 2021. They will try to make some of them up in the spring. We'll see how that goes. But for right now, that's the way things are standing. The Power 5 conferences, or Division 1A, the Football Bowl championship teams, again, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have canceled their seasons. They will not be playing football in the fall, and that's caused some heartache. 8 Nebraska football players are suing the Big Ten, saying that they did not follow their own procedures and that they did not move forward with respect towards the players who do have a stake in whether the games are played. Even though it's not a professional sport, these players are trying to move on into the professional level, and without being able to play, that hurts their chances. So they have sued the Big Ten. The Big Ten has responded and said, we followed our procedures, we did take a vote, and we're not going to revisit it. Football is still canceled. Clemson announced that they will be playing football, but they will be limiting capacity in their stadium to about 25% of its full capacity, which means about 19,000 people will be able to watch the games live. Of the 5 largest stadiums in the NCAA, 3 of them, which are all in the Pac-12 or Big Ten, will be vacant this season. The Aggies are number 4, and then Tennessee is number 5. Tennessee is now indicating a little bit more strongly that they will be limiting their stadium to about 25% of the capacity, or 25,000 fans. So, speaking of UT, we did get some good news this weekend, depending on how you take it. Tennessee is ranked in the AP poll. The AP preseason poll came out this week. Tennessee made the list at 25. So good news, go Vols. We're happy about that. The bad news is 9 Pac-12 and Big Ten teams who won't be playing this season made the list ahead of the Vols. Not sure how that works, but we're on the list, and that is a good place to be. Other NCAA news, Marshall and ECU, East Carolina University, were scheduled to play a game this season to commemorate the horrible plane crash that struck the Thundering Herd back in the 70s. It was the worst disaster to ever take place on a sporting team in U.S. history. They were going to play Eastern Carolina. East Carolina, the Marshall players were flying back from that game when their plane crashed just short of the airport, and everybody on board was killed. They were going to play ECU in commemoration of that event, but again, due to COVID, due to things going on there, they weren't able to keep that game on the schedule, so it looks like it's not going to get played. I mentioned earlier that many of the pro teams had stopped their games, stopped their playoffs because of everything that's going on in the world. A few college teams did the same thing. Practices were canceled for Western Kentucky, Baylor, Kentucky, South Florida, Boston College, and Mississippi State. All of these teams elected to stop preseason practices to help the team find unity. They wanted to pay their respects to their teammates who were hurting during all of this crisis, and felt that that was the best thing that they could do for the team. And to a man, each of the coaching staffs at the associated universities agreed. The coaches were all for it. The players took the time that they needed to be ready and to deal with everything that they're trying to process. So that's going on there. Let's see, we do have a couple of comments. Let's bring those up. And starting off with friend of the show, Thomas Rimmer says, can't wait. Sevier County going for 2-0 against Heritage. And we'll be talking about that when we get back from the break. But yes, Sevier County did win last Friday. It was a great game. We brought that to you. I was there. It was a lot of fun and enjoyed bringing that to you. Craig Brummerstead is ready to go. Friday night lights tonight. Absolutely. There might be some Friday night raincoats and umbrellas as well. And we'll talk about that when we get back from the break. Speaking of, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll step away, run a couple of commercials, and when we come back, we're going to dive into high school sports. There's a lot of action to talk about, so don't go anywhere. Rich Haley, Mountain Fun Life. Hang out. We'll be right back.
Are you a Hitchcock fan? Do you like a good suspense thriller? Then I have a couple of great books for you. Hello, I'm Joe Moore, TV host on Mountain Fun Life channel and international multi-award winning author. Almost 60 years ago, Alfred Hitchcock scared audiences with The Birds. I picked up the story and wrote the next 2 chapters in this saga, Return of the Birds and my award-winning sequel, Revenge of the Birds. Available in hardcover, softcover, and digitally. Both books can be purchased wherever fine books are sold, or even autographed through the NorthPolePress.com. You have my promise. These books will keep you up at night.
We now have our own magazine. Our prints are located in shops, gas stations, hotels, ballparks, all over the Smoky Mountain region. We offer a concierge service for cabins, hotels, resorts, and individuals. A portion of any of our services or ad space may be applied as ticket value to the cost of any service or ad you book through us. Contact our marketing today for a free initial consultation. Email marketing@mountainfunlife.com.
Parrot Mountain. This attraction has it all, whether you're 2 years old or 90 years young, with hundreds of beautiful tropical birds and thousands of flowers, plants, and trees. Folks who visited our park have said, I've never seen this many birds in one place. This must be what the Garden of Eden was like, the most beautiful and peaceful place I have ever been. These gardens rival the best value in the Smokies. You'll want to visit Parrot Mountain and Gardens. Call or visit us online. We'll see you there.
All right, we are back. Welcome back. Hope you made it through all that. Hey, this is Rich Haley here on the Mountain Fun Life channel doing sports in the Smokies on Morning in the Mountains. I hope y'all are having a great day. It's a little soggy outside, but to be honest, the rain feels better than the humidity that we dealt with last night. So let's dive in and talk about some high school football. First, we'll take a look at what happened last week to set the table for what's coming up tonight. Plus, we have to cover what happened at the Kings Academy last night as GP came in for a Thursday night matchup against the Lions, who surprised Seymour last week. And we're going to talk about that. All right, so let's get started. Last week we had a full slate of games in the Sevier County area, and we had some lightning and thunder on the field and above the field. We had some rain delays and one postponement. Or I believe the game has been canceled. So starting off with this game that we covered for you, we were there at the Sevier County game taking on Jeff County, and for as long as I can remember, that has always been a major game starting off the season. Sevier County and Jeff County, the two big schools in the area, squaring off, going at each other toe-to-toe to start off the season. It's always been a very competitive, highly anticipated matchup. Last year, Jeff County absolutely wiped Sevier County out. Sevier County was having a down year, and Jeff County just rolled. This year, different story. Sevier County wound up winning 35-26, and the game wasn't as close as the score. Jeff County scored late to kind of narrow the gap. The game was interrupted by lightning, and we had almost a 2-hour delay while they waited for conditions on the field to be safe for the players to come back and play the game. And it was all Sevier County all night long as they dominated from the beginning to the end and just played some excellent football. GP won by forfeit against Hampton. Hampton had problems fielding the team and had to forfeit due to COVID-19. So GP got an extra week to practice to get ready for their matchup with the Lions. Speaking of the Lions, the Kings Academy Lions came out and shocked Seymour. Seymour had a rough season last year, but they were expected to be a little bit stronger this year, to have built some experience and some of their younger players developed. But the Kings Academy has also had that year to grow and develop, and they've got some thoroughbreds on that team, some guys who can really play football on both sides of the ball. And the Kings Academy Lions came out on top of that game, 28-21. Northview Academy, again, had a rain delay, but once they played the game, they beat West Green 50-42, and the game was actually a blowout. Northview brought in some of their younger players. West Green took advantage of that to make the game close. The outcome was never in doubt as Northview gets the season opening win against West Green 50-42. And like I said, the Pigeon Forge game was rained out. Now, before we get to tonight's games, let's talk a little bit about last night's game. So, Thursday night game, it was not scheduled for Thursday night, but because of the weather situation and because TKA had last night as their senior night, they wanted to go ahead and play the game on Thursday to make sure it got played. So Gatlinburg-Pittman agreed, so they came out to the Kings Academy field and they played last night. If you were paying attention, we went live last night several times from that game, and it was a very exciting matchup if you were a Lions fan. Gatlinburg-Pittman jumped out to a 13-0 lead. They scored twice, once at about the middle of the second, or the beginning of the second quarter, and then a little bit later in the second to take that 13-0 lead. But after that, it was all the Lions. The Kings Academy Lions exploded for 39 unanswered points throughout the rest of the game and just absolutely dominated. It was a great performance by the Lions, who have shown that their win over Seymour last week is not a fluke. They can run with the big boys now. Their head coach, Jonathan Sellers, he's in his second year, and he has that team moving in the right direction. So they beat GP convincingly, and now they have an 8-day spread before next weekend, when they will be in action on the road against Grace Baptist of Franklin, which is going to be a big test for them, and we'll see where they sit as they move forward in their campaign. So that will be a very interesting game. So that means we've got a shorter schedule for this weekend. So let's look at what we've got on tap. Starting off with Sevier County. Sevier County is at Heritage in Maryville tonight. They will be playing at 7:30. Sevier County's 1-0. Heritage beat Lenoir City on the road last week. They won 21-7. So both teams will be looking for win number 2 and to stay undefeated. Last year, the Smoky Bears beat Heritage 61-24. So we'll see what happens this year. I won't be at that game. I do have someone who's going to be taking care of sending me some scoring information while I cover a different game. So we will be able to bring you that during our lives this afternoon. So thanks, Thomas, for doing that for us. We do appreciate it. Next up, we have the game that I will be at, and that is the Seymour Eagles traveling to Knoxville to take on Gibbs. Seymour beat Gibbs 41-23 last year, so they will be looking for win number 1 for Seymour to even their record at 1-1. And like I mentioned last week, this is head coach Scott Branton's second year with the Eagles, and he's really hoping to improve on last year's 5-5 record. It's going to be tough for them, though, to bounce back from that loss at the Kings Academy. They weren't expecting that. They expected that to be a win, so it did not go the way they anticipated. Like I mentioned before, Gatlinburg-Pittman played last night against the Kings Academy, so they won't be playing this weekend. Neither will the Kings Academy. So Gatlinburg-Pittman goes back to the drawing board to figure out what they need to do in order to be competitive next week. That brings us to the Northview Academy Cougars. And my notes are wrong. So I will look up their schedule and let you know who they are playing this weekend. I do know that they are playing this weekend. My notes say that they're playing GP on Thursday. That's next Thursday. So I will look that up and we will put it on the Facebook page for you to let you know who Northview is playing. And that brings us to the Pigeon Forge Tigers. Pigeon Forge is taking on Granger County at Granger County. So again, they will be on the road. Their game was rained out on last week, so they have an 0-0 record. So they're looking for their first win under returning coach Scott Meadows. Scott Meadows was very happy to be back at Pigeon Forge, back with the Tigers. The game last week, they got about a series in each, and that was about it before the rain and lightning hit, and game officials there decided not to wait and called the game on account of weather. So Pigeon Forge lost to Granger County last year. Pigeon Forge had a very, very rough season last year. Granger, on the other hand, won their road opener 44-14 against Cumberland Gap. So they'll be coming in with some momentum. The Pigeon Forge Tigers are going to do their best to arrest that momentum and get their first win under returning head coach Scott Meadows. And like I said, next week, TKA will be in action at Grace Baptist in Franklin. So that's a look at high school football. For a look at the other high school sports, hang on, because I've got an announcement for you. So we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about high school sports and a little bit more. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a minute. I'm Rich Haley. This is the Mountain Fun Life channel, and you're watching Morning in the Mountains. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back, and I did just look that up to correct my error. Northview Academy is playing at Cocke County tonight, so that's going to be a tough test for the Cougars. The Cougars have a pretty good team this year. They struggled last year, like we mentioned last week, but all of their players got a little bit older, a little bit stronger, a little bit smarter. Coach Heath Woods is bringing the team along, getting them where he wants them to be. And this game against Cocke County will be an interesting game. I do want to repeat what I said at the top of the show. Because of the weather situation, it's going to be very important for you to keep an eye on weather developments as you go through today in order to go to these games this evening. Make sure to bring some rain gear with you because it's liable to be pretty wet. Last night's game with the Kings Academy and GP, There was no rain. It feels like it would have been nicer had there been some rain because it was extremely humid. A lot of the players were having trouble with the heat and humidity. So make sure to bring some rain gear with you and make sure to hydrate because it is going to be warm and wet this evening as we play football. So I'm going to climb on my soapbox here for a minute and talk a little bit about professional sports. I don't like to put politics in everything. I understand that with everything going on in the world today and everything going on in the United States, especially up in Kenosha right now and in other areas, that it feels like we all have to say something about it. It has to be on the table all day, every day. But to my mind, sports is different. Sports is a game. It's a way to break away from the realities of day-to-day life and simply enjoy what it means to be human and what we as humans can do. And it is amazing when I watch the athletes, whether it's at the high school level or the professional level, it doesn't matter, the Olympic level, seeing what human beings are capable of and being reminded of how we can transcend our own limits and do things that would have been thought impossible. And when we take sport and we turn it into a statement for politics or ideologies or anything like that, we step away from that. We no longer are transcending our limitations, we're living down to them. And I don't like that. I don't believe that that is a part, or it should be a part of sport. I understand that a lot of the players have very strong feelings about what's going on. I understand it, I get it, and I applaud it. But there is a difference between voicing your opinion and reacting to your feelings and standing up saying, I'm not going to work because something happened over there that I find disturbing, that I don't like, that I don't agree with, and I want to protest it. I understand the drive. And if that's what the players want to do, they absolutely have that right to do so. And I will stand up before anybody and say, absolutely, if they don't want to play, absolutely they shouldn't play. If they feel that it's important enough for them that they need to make this statement, they have that power, they have that right. I will never say that they don't. I would say that I wish they would think about that decision in a different way. Is that really the best way to make the case that they feel they need to make? And if it is, more power to them, but understand at the end of the day, these athletes who are marvelous athletes and do things that most of us could never dream of doing, at the end of the day, they play a game. They get paid well for playing that game, and there's very few people who can play that game at the level that they do, but they play a game. And if we don't watch them playing that game, they don't get paid for it anymore. And that's an important consideration. I want sports to continue. I want these athletes to continue to make all the money that they can off of their abilities, because that's what we do in the United States. What I don't want to see is for them to damage the sport by using it as a platform for political purposes. There are places for that. I look at what happened in the NBA with playoff games being postponed, teams talking about just totally suspending the playoffs and not playing them at all, ending the season right where it is. And I look at the college football teams that canceled a practice or two or three. And there's a difference there. There's a difference between refusing to play a game that you've contracted for and taking a day or two out of practice to make sure that your teammates are okay. And that's what I heard coming out of the college ranks, out of Mississippi State and out of Kentucky and out of Western Kentucky. And these teams that suspended practice, over and over and over again, the players were saying, our teammates are hurting and we want to make sure that we support them in the best way that we can. And for that, we are willing to forego a practice session in order to make sure our teammates are taken care of. I can get behind that. I understand it. It makes sense. And it protects the integrity of the sport. Saying, I'm not going to play a playoff game because I want to make a political statement, that's in a different place. It comes out differently. It's motivated differently. It may be every bit as personally felt, but it's a different direction to go in. And I worry that sport is going to suffer because of these. And I've seen lots of people saying professional sports are dead to me now because of all of this. And I understand what they're saying, and I hope they reconsider, and I hope the players understand that when they make their job a platform for a political statement, they risk that job. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want sports to go away. I don't want sports to be hurt. Like I said, it's a time for us to celebrate everything that we are capable of as a species, either individually in individual sports or even more magnificently in a team where all the pieces are working together. So that's what I think. I hope if you disagree, absolutely, leave some comments. We can get a discussion going. If you agree, leave some comments there as well. Let me know what you think, because in the end, this is a conversation between you and me. This is not just a show where I sit here and talk. You are welcome to respond. All right, so climb down off of the soapbox for a minute. I do have a major announcement, something we've been planning, and I've been teasing it a little bit here and there as we've moved through the last couple of weeks. I'm leaving Mountain Fun Life. No, I'm not leaving Mountain Fun Life. Couldn't do that. Love it here, having a great time. But we are expanding. We are going to create a new Facebook page. Matter of fact, we've already created it, MFL Sports. Mountain Fun Life is about everything that goes on here in our Smoky Mountain area. All of the entertainment, all of the shows, all of the concerts, all of the different things that we can do. You saw in our ads, we've got lots and lots of activities. We've done profiles of Smoky Mountain water sports and Behind the Lens and some of the other different attractions. Jim and James on Wednesdays bring in some of the entertainment acts that you can see while you're here in the area. Then we've got Santa Joe and Mrs. Claus, who are out there getting around, seeing the people and telling you what's going on in Sevier County and bringing you independent publishing and also other sorts of news. And then we've got Chris and Savannah also bringing you different entertainment stories in the area. So the Mountain Fun Life brand is this big, wide tent that covers everything. And that's great, and it does a great job, and I hope you're with us each and every weekday morning. But sports is growing as we're getting back into the sporting year, and as schools are coming back, all of our local sports are taking off. And if we keep sports here constantly, it begins to overwhelm everything else that's going on, and we don't want that. Absolutely, we do not want that. But we do want to be, and we want to become, your primary source for sports information here in the Sevier County and the Smoky Mountain area. So in order to do that, we're setting up the MFL Sports Channel. It's going to be on Facebook to begin with, but we've already picked up a website domain, and we'll be starting on developing that. And we're going to focus less on the national sports picture. We'll give some time to that, obviously, but we're going to focus more on the local sports, not just high school, although we will be covering all high school sports. As a matter of fact, you notice I didn't talk about soccer or volleyball today, and that's because that's going to be shifted over into the Mountain Fun Life MFL Sports channel. So we're going to have the schedules for your volleyball teams, for your soccer teams, for cross-country meets. We want to become the source in Sevier County for local sports information. Not just high school, like I said. We may get some stuff going with Carson Newman. We want to try and pick up some of the Little League action with the English Mountain Football Conference, which is starting up in about a month. They're holding their jamboree this week, mostly virtually, and getting ready for their games next month. So we want to be able to do some of that and bring some of that to you. There are some fan-run sites out there. They are organized and professionally maintained, but they generally rely on input from fans to keep the information current. Coach T is one example, Max Prep is another, and they do a decent job. The problem is they're not local, so they don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, and they don't capture all of the excitement that we think goes with local high school sports. And we want to bring all of that to you. So like I said, keep an eye on MFL Sports on Facebook. We'll have the link here on our page here at Mountain Fun Life, and we will be adding all of the schedules, the results, the standings, and stories and features about the different teams and the different events going on. And we'll also cover other sports and outdoor activities. We'll be bringing back the hiking feature, and I'll be doing a lot more hiking, particularly as we get into the cooler weather in the fall. It's a little bit too hot and humid to try to climb Mount LeConte right now. So once the weather gets a little bit more hiker friendly, we'll be bringing that back. We'll also be doing some fishing reports. I know Craig and a couple of other folks have been asking for that. So we'll be covering a lot more of the outdoor sports and activities, as well as our local high schools and the Little Leagues. So we're very excited about that. We're going to be listener supported and viewer supported. We're going to get you involved in the conversation. I'm going to move my soapbox over there, so we'll have some nice discussions on different issues going on in the sports world, particularly locally, because that's what we want to provide, is that focus on the local high school sports. Nobody else is bringing it to you like we're going to be able to bring it to you, and we're very excited about that. So glad to be able to do this. I'm looking forward to a lot of interactions with all of you here in the near future on the MFL Sports Channel. And don't worry, every Friday I'll still be right here on the Mountain Fun Life channel bringing you the Morning in the Mountains Sports in the Smokies edition, as we keep you informed and entertained while you're here in the Smokies. All right, that's the show for today. And again, if you're going out to the football games tonight, please check the weather. Make sure to bring some foul weather gear, because we're liable to get some rain. It's also probably going to be a little bit hot and muggy as well. So prime football fall weather here in East Tennessee. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday, but for now, we are done. I'm Rich Haley here on the Mountain Fun Life channel. This has been the Sports in the Smokies edition of Morning in the Mountains. We'll see you later.